The Chicago Bears were just linked to an absolute touchdown machine. And a lot of people are saying right now, hey, let's trade for Cooper Kupp. That's a good idea. Resign Keenan Allen to a really expensive deal. I'm saying, please, no, thank you. The Bears had the perfect solution that nobody's talking about. And the guy that I'm talking about is Nick Westbrook Ikine of the Tennessee Titans. He's an unrestricted free agent, and there are rumblings that are getting steam that he's going to be the target this offseason. And seriously, this guy is an overlooked player. He's a guy that we can steal away from a cash-strapped team like the Titans. And I'm going to go to this story by Kevin Patra. And despite not being one of the headlining wide receivers in this 2025 free agent class, Westbrook Ikine was a touchdown machine for the Titans last season. He's also consistently demonstrated he's a willing blocker. Now, that's something the Bears' new offense could use, and it's also a perfect fit from what Ben Johnson demands from his wide receivers. And it's not an ask, it's a demand. This story, it gives us a look at who he is as a player, and it's just really indicative of what Kevin Patra of NFL.com thinks of this guy. And let me scroll down to it here. So check this out. This is what he had to say. The Titans had 22 total receiving touchdowns in 2024. Westbrook Ikine had 9 of them. For a team that struggled to put up points for much of the season, the 27-year-old wideout brought the pop. He set career highs in yards, 497, and touchdowns, while also generating 15.5 yards per catch. And now we're looking at only 32 receptions. 19 of them went for 10-plus yards. 4 went over 20 yards. In his 98-yard touchdown, that was the longest catch from scrimmage in the league in 2024. And Titans quarterbacks, they earned a 99.8 passer rating when targeting this guy. Tops among Tennessee receivers, and the free agent to be ensured he's going to find a role in the NFL, whether it's in Tennessee or whether it's elsewhere. And if you're looking at the Bears, they just can't step from one offense to the other without finding better fits in some ways for Ben Johnson's attack. I mean, Westbrook Ikine, he fits the mold for Ben Johnson's likes in a receiver. We're looking at great size, 6'2", 215 pounds, an absolutely solid route runner, great as a blocker, and good speed. We're talking about an ascending player, and he's coming off a career year. And I'm also going to get into his economical price in a few minutes. But to me, this guy is a no-brainer. Let's keep talking about it. I mean, we're going to look past retooling the offensive line. That's going to get done. But receivers in this offense, they get dramatically open. It's a wide open scheme. You see players getting lots of yak. But we're talking about for play action success to happen, the way passing routes are constructed. It requires a different receiver. Requires a receiver that can set picks and do it well without penalties on the routes. And also, receivers are called to be blockers consistently in the running game as well. And Ben Johnson and receivers coach Antoine Randall L., they have a receiver type. And most notably, it's a physical receiver who does the dirty work too, a guy who can block well on the run. And this really filters into a successful running attack and a successful passing game. Westbrook Ikine, he is that guy. The only thought is, you got to be careful, right? Guys that break out that haven't done it before, what if they're a fluke? I don't think this guy's a fluke. Once again, he exploded down the stretch. He recorded at least 1 touchdown in 7 of Tennessee's last 8 contests. And the former Indiana standout, he scored 8 touchdowns in total, having reached the end zone twice in kind of his signature game of the year. That was in a defeat to the Washington Commanders. But I just really think this sample size is way too big, way too consistent. This guy cannot be considered a blip. Just came on as an absolute stud. But the beautiful thing about this, and this is why I think this would be successful, he's going to stay in that number 3 slot in the offense. Sometimes guys break out and then they're like thrust into a role that might be too big for their skill set. They break out as a number 3, and then all of a sudden, well, you're going to be the number 1 receiver. The Bears aren't going to do that. He's not going to be overextended, and he can just continue to be what he is, just a touchdown magnet, a super consistent threat in the passing game within this Ben Johnson offense. We're looking at a solid number 3, and he's one that doesn't come around very often, almost hardly ever. He's such a versatile player. He can play 20 to 30 snaps on offense a game, and he's also a special teams ace. So we're looking at Keenan emerging in a major way down the second half of the stretch of Tennessee's 2024 season. Former undrafted free agent. He finished the season with 32 receptions once again for 497 yards and 9 touchdowns, but the 9 end zone visits. They're tied for third all-time in single-season Titans era history, highlighted by 8 receiving touchdowns in an 8-game stretch. I can't mention that enough times. That's so consistent. And we're looking at over the last 4 years, Westbrook-Ikhine, he kind of went from a rookie training camp, like big story. Look at him. He's working hard. He's making the roster. And he went all the way to what he is now, just a touchdown target. And we're looking at a guy that's young and ready to even further break out. In ESPN's insider, Teron Davenport, he had this to say about him. Westbrook-Ikhine, he went from an afterthought on the roster who didn't have any targets through the first 4 games of the season to then leading the team with all these touchdown receptions. And this is a guy that's just getting lost in the shuffle. And it's because all the talk right now is about high-profile guys like Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, yes, our own Keenan Allen. And it's just ridiculous. Ignore those conversations because this is a guy to talk about, and it's because there's one stat to know as well. Only Jamar Chase, Terry McLaurin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, Mark Andrews, T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas Jr., these are the only guys in the NFL that had more touchdowns than Westbrook-Ikhine just this last year. That really puts him in an elite group of pass catchers. And one of the reasons I really want him to be a Chicago Bear is because what your teammates have to say about you means a lot. And his teammates nicknamed him Mr. Reliable. Now we're looking at lots of mouths to feed in the Bears offense. Westbrook-Ikhine is a perfect fit because the guy doesn't have to be fed the ball constantly to be effective. Last year, he earned the name as well, Mr. Reliable, for his ability to catch passes and extend drives in crucial moments. And we're looking at 17 games, only 32 catches for 497 yards and 9 touchdowns. Granted, he did this with only 32 catches. He doesn't have to start out the game as a major part of the offense in order to produce. Also responsible for 25 first downs, didn't turn the ball over all season. We're looking at, he was also on a team with Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. These are both pretty nice receivers, but Ikhine was targeted half as many times as Ridley and scored 5 more touchdowns. Now, Ikhine hasn't had anything handed to him in the NFL either. He's worked for absolutely every inch he's gotten, every penny he's received, and he's just moved himself up the ladder consistently. The guy's proven himself year after year. I think that's why the Titans have kept him around in the first place, but it's always been on like single-year contracts. Now I think it's time for the Bears to show him that effort was worth it. It's time for the Bears to reward him with a contract that fits his talent. And compared to other alternatives, such an affordable rate. So let's talk about the cost of the Bears, right? First off, is he going to be available? What are the Titans going to do? The Titans have $41.6 million in cap space to use this offseason, which isn't bad. That's according to roster management system. But they have over 25 players set to become free agents when the new league starts on March 12th. They're going to have to be diligent with the roster construction, and winning a bidding war with them shouldn't be that hard if it even comes to that. And the attractiveness of the Bears, I don't have to even say it, going to be way more attractive than Tennessee could be. Just an easy sell as far as team. And it took some time finding a comp for him. I did some looking, but I think maybe the most comparable contract for a Westbrook-Ikhine extension for the Bears is the one signed by Juwan Jennings last season. We're looking at a similar player from a play style versatility perspective. And Jennings, he signed a 2-year, $15.4 million contract extension with the 49ers in March. And in like true Westbrook Akine style, I'm going to say he responded with a career best season. They put their trust in him. But what's really interesting about this, Jennings, he didn't possess the negotiating power when he entered these discussions that Akine is going to have. He was fresh off a 19 catch, 265-yard season, only one touchdown though. So we're kind of looking at Westbrook Akine. He's already scored 7 more touchdowns than Jennings did throughout 2023. So I think that strongly indicates that the money to sign him will probably be a little north of the near 7.7 million per annual deal. And that's what San Francisco's Juwan Jennings inked just this last March. So maybe it'd be up to 9 million a year. But when compared to what's being bandied about by a lot of guys, hey, let's trade for Cooper Kupp once again or sign Keenan Allen. I just don't want to see us participate in this because paying an old veteran number 3 receiver in this offense, $20 million a season, totally an avoidable thing. And why not get in on this young player while he's ascending, lock him in for a few years, and then have this receiver team just humming. And then we'd still have a chance to bring along somebody like Scott, but it kind of looks like he's falling out of favor, that he's just not that good. I don't know. But I firmly believe making a move for Akine that gives us a young ascending player on a bargain deal, this is the move to make. Let's continue banging the table for this guy to be a Chicago Bear. I think it's a no-brainer. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. Do you want Westbrook Akine to be the number 3 receiver on this team? If not, tell me who you'd rather have. And I'll look forward to chopping it up in the message boards, and bear down. We'll talk soon.